we have a couple of challenges with, I'm still doing schoolwork, right? And still,
Hi, Mary.
Hi
Yeah,
there. Welcome.
she's still doing it. She's still coming in.
So
What have you got there? Oh, okay.
there we go.
There we go.
Okie dokie. Now I can hear.
Yay. Welcome, Mary.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
I think I
Doing
know
pretty
you.
well. Have my cup of tension tamer tea. Whoops, can you see? There we go. My cup of tension tamer tea.
Very
Good.
nice.
Come here. Oh, come here. This is Lydia. Lydia, come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here.
Lydia. Miss Lydia.
Whoa.
Oh, look, there's Lydia.
She is.
She's all tangled up in my cords. There she
Yeah.
is. Okay.
Yeah.
So sweet.
You'll see.
That's awesome.
her best side. So,
Of course. She's ready for her close-up now.
yeah.
She's giving us her close-up.
Come here, Lydia. Turn around so people can. Ah, all right. Scooch. Scooch.
I love it.
I love
I'm
it.
so glad the two of you are here. I was messaging with Mary earlier. Hi, Marsha. And I was worried that it would just be Mary and I. So I'm grateful.
Yeah. Well, I'm very grateful because I'm a little introverted, and I really, this time of solitude, it has been really interesting because I've been diving into big projects and getting a lot done. And just recently, I've kind of come to a place of slowing down on those things. And as I was coming towards this slow stop, I was noticing there was a real shift going on. And I haven't figured out what the shift is yet. I'm just seeing that there is something coming up. And as I was saying to somebody earlier today, this is a full Lent. Because everything just got stripped down.
I would agree. This has been a true Lent in a way I could not have imagined.
I couldn't have imagined this. Marsha is giving us a photo of herself.
I know. She must be hiding back there.
Yeah.
Show yourself, Marsha. Show yourself.
She will.
I know. I'm fighting a cold, so I was looking for a different background. But yeah, no, I'm not hiding altogether.
I discovered, oh, nice.
Yeah.
I discovered Shutterstock has a free zip file you can download.
Yep.
So I have been using those today with my I spend way too much time in Zoom in my room. Mark is concerned that this is, it was my office. Then we made it a guest room. Now it's my office again. He's like, you're never going to leave. Like it's, I brought my teapot up here. I'm like,
yeah.
Soon you're going to bring your bed up there.
I do. Well, the bed's right behind me. If I got rid of it, you can see there's a little day bed right behind me. So it could be bad. Hey there.
Hi, Emma.
Oh, connecting her audio yet. I'm meeting Emma for the first time.
Emma's lovely.
Yes, she is.
Hey, Miss Emma, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Your spring break is officially over now.
No, Monday, technically.
Monday. I'm trying to make it shorter and shorter for you. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, it's like a break, but not really a break. So it's all the same to me.
Gotcha. I need to start sending some of my baking. I've discovered that definitely is my spiritual practice.
Yeah.
And so I'm now sharing it with neighbors because my husband and I won't be able to get through doors if I continue baking at the rate I'm going.
You could FedEx it over here to Carlisle.
Right. Hershey's a nice drive. Get out. Leave it at the door.
Oh yeah, you could just drop it at the door too. There's that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kind of like the drop-off services that are going on right now.
Yeah.
Or just turn yourself into a drive-through.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we've been doing with Girl Scout cookies. So
Down you go.
I know we felt badly because there were so many Girl Scout cookie kind of our neighbor. They were supposed to have a like one of those stands, and she didn't. They didn't have it, so we bought 4 boxes of Girl Scout cookies. It's very bad, very bad. So I'm looking for Mary.
Hey,
I'm
your
sure-
backyard, Lisa, looks like a fake backdrop.
it
from here.
really does.
Well, it is a fake backdrop. It's not really my backyard. It was from this summer.
Oh, seriously?
Yes.
Say, how come your garden looks so good right now?
It's not.
You haven't
It's
taught
not,
her about the
but
virtual backgrounds, huh?
I had one that was a little, I met with elementary school teachers this afternoon. I had one that looked like I was in a child's book. I thought that maybe was a little too distracting for this.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's like you feel like saying, yeah, this is my house and that's my desk and this is, oh, you want to see something else? Okay, let's go over here. Right.
exactly. I'm just sending Mary a message here, letting her know we are ready when she is. How's everybody? Anything exciting today? We have this virtual bear hunt that happens in our neighborhood, and so I love out my window. I'm seeing the bear hunters go by, pointing, and they have little clipboards marking it down.
Do you have a bear in your yard?
We
In
have
your window?
several. We have several. We have one hanging off my front door, one in the front window, one in the bathroom window hanging out the front.
Awesome. So do they count how many bears they get at each house? Is that the idea?
They're counting how many bears they have overall. So one of the little girls in our neighborhood counted 167.
Wow.
So that was kind of cool. We're hoping to go for a little walk tomorrow and get some interviews properly socially distanced apart. All of that stuff.
We just got back from a nice walk in our neighborhood, and there was a family out there playing Foursquare, a mom and dad and 2 kids, and we were reminiscing about it, and the mom said, well, we'd invite you to play, but yeah, social distancing.
Hi, Mary. Welcome.
Hello, I apologize. I was squeezing in a quick walk with my son and my dog. So
No worries. No worries. I'm going to pin you up since you're the major guest today. Let me start us off with a prayer and then we'll get going, okay? The Lord be with you.
and
Also
with you.
As we are gathered here uniquely in all of history, we particularly look at these people in this singular time and place, God. Please accomplish your purposes among us. Turn our hearts to the voice of your Spirit. Wake us to be present to you, to one another in these shared hours. For it is you, Lord, who have so gathered us from our various places, and you alone who know our hearts and our needs. Among us are some who arrive anxious, some who are lonely, some who suffer pain or sorrow. May we in our joys find grace to enter the sorrows of others. Among us are those who arrive rejoicing, hearts made light by good news, good health, glad anticipation. May we in our sorrows find grace to embrace those who have joy. Let us prize these moments and care for one another deeply, for each of us and our relationships to one another. Amen.
Amen.
So Mary, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. And I know that your life is probably zoomed out literally right now. And I know I've appreciated reading, using your book. Let's see if we can get it. We'll see, it's fading into my background. Here we go. There we go. And I thought this would be a great opportunity for you to share some thoughts about, when you wrote this book, did you have any idea that life would be like this? And just kind of give us your thoughts on that. And I'd love to have some time for Q&A at the end.
Well, thank you. And Lisa, thanks for organizing this. I'm really honored and I'm excited to be with you all here tonight. So I really appreciate it. I would love it if, I'm not sure if you all have been doing this for weeks together. I know there've been some gatherings, but it would be meaningful to me even just to hear each of your names and where you live. I can see your faces except for Patty's iPad. And it would just be, it'd be helpful to me. Can we do that? Would that be okay? So, and I'll start. I'm Mary Bea Sullivan. It's actually a double name. So I'm Mary Bea, and I live in Birmingham, Alabama with my husband and a dog that we've acquired since I wrote that book. And our son lives nearby and our daughter lives in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So anybody else want to say your name and where you are?
I'll be happy to introduce myself, Mary Bea, and also to apologize. I need to leave for a worship planning meeting at 6:30. St. Luke's is trying to figure out the Easter schedule. So I'm currently interning at St. Luke's Episcopal Church in Mount Joy. My name is Martha Harris. I'm a postulant for the priesthood in the Episcopal Church and go to Lancaster Theological Seminary, where I'm earning my master's in divinity. I've got one more year to go. I'm also earning a certificate in Anglican studies through the Stevenson School for Ministry, which is in partnership with the seminary. So I live in downtown Lancaster. I'm a mom, I'm a grandmom, and I'm a small business owner. So I do a lot of Zoom right now. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
How about, I see Hedinga.
Hi, I'm Kathy Hedinga. I live in Dillsburg. I attend church at St. Luke's Mechanicsburg, and I run their educational program, Adult Forum, Spiritual Growth. I live with my husband, my boomeranged home son. We have 3 sons, one hunkered down in the Bronx, and a married son in Denver who sadly just lost his job. His wife lost her job. But we also have a delightful beagle here, and I'm just happy to be Zooming in on some things.
Good to see you. Thank you. Does Patty's iPad want to chime in? And when you say a town, it might help for people to say the state too, because there's an assumption.
Oh, Pennsylvania.
I figured that.
Okay.
I'm not sure you can hear me. I can't figure out how to get my video on. I thought I had it set. So I'm Patty Wachter from Dauphin, Pennsylvania, and I am currently out of work till I work for AAA till I'm the front-facing person who meets the guests and the members when they come in. So right now we're not doing that. So the rest, I'm trying to support all my co-workers as they work from home and can do some of their jobs. But I am at home here with my husband, and we're learning what retirement might really look like when we're both home 24/7.
Wow, blessings on this unexpected transition right now. I see Arlene Volk. Is your microphone working? It's Mary Bea.
Is it working?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
So
Hi there.
we're just saying our name and where we're from.
I'm from Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Okay. Good. Great. Is everybody here? Are you all buds? Are you all from the same area, or there's some not from that area?
Oh, well. I think most of us are from PA. I'm going to go through and I'm going to unmute you at a time. That way you know that you'll see your little microphone go away, the little cross, and then you'll know that it's your turn. How about that? So I am at admin. You are unmuted.
Myself.
There you go.
There I am. Hi, everybody. Lots of familiar faces, lots of new faces. And it's really nice to be here with you. My name is Janine Goodwin. I am in Carlisle. I am very active at St. Andrew's in Shippensburg. I do drive 20 miles west to go to church. Not right now. And at St. Andrew's, I have the privilege of being a healing minister on the first Sunday of the month, a lay Eucharistic minister, been trained in lay Eucharistic visitor, which I hope to do someday. And I'm also on the formation committee. And there is a very, very, very lively formation group that goes year round on different topics at St. Andrews. And it's through that work that I really am grounded in developing and living, making my work, which is spiritual direction, making my work my prayer, my work.
Beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, how about Audrey, Bishop Audrey?
Am I unmuted? Yeah.
You're unmuted.
Hi, Mary Bea. I'm Audrey Scanlon. I'm the Bishop of the Diocese of Central Pennsylvania. And I've spent about 10 hours on Zoom today, so.
No, I know.
I'm beginning to think that when I get on the phone, it's just like a rare pleasure. So, anyway, it's great to have you here, and I've been enjoying the book and look forward to hearing from you.
Well, thank you. And thanks for hanging in there for one more hour, man. It's good to see you. And you've written for Living Compass, haven't you? And you're a hiker.
Yeah, right.
I loved we both wrote then in the same one in Advent, right?
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Great.
Good to
Thank
see you
you
in person.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Emma.
Okay. I'm Emma. I'm a junior at LaSalle University, and I'm from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, also.
And how about Mary, the other Mary?
Mary. I'm just plain Mary. I guess you can hear me now, I think. I'm in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, and going to Mount Calvary in Camp Hill, about 20 minutes east of where I live. My most fun thing to do is, everybody here is probably bored to tears when I talk about it, is being a mentor for Education for Ministry. And one of my group participants happens to be in our group, Kathy. And all 6 of my folks are going to be graduating in May of their 4th year. And it's been a really interesting time. We're in the middle of Bonhoeffer's Life Together. And we've had some provocative conversations around that.
Thank you.
Robin. Oops, I'm trying to unmute you. Maybe we're doing it at the same time.
Same time, sorry. Hi, everyone. I'm new to the group, and thank you, Marcia, for sending the link. And my name is Robin Zook Coolidge, and I'm Dean of the Stevenson School for Ministry, and I have the privilege of working with Audrey on diocesan staff, as well as many of the people that are gathered here tonight.
Thank you. And Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm from northern central Pennsylvania. I'm sorry I missed the beginning of the meeting. I'm actually outside now finishing some chores. So if there were some other questions, I can give you a little video here. You can see yesterday I was in a Zoom meeting and I have Julia Child's kitchen in my background.
Nice.
So that's a good idea of what I like. And I don't know if I can turn around or not, but no, I guess I can't with that on. Yeah, so I'm just kind of here to listen in, and I see some friends that I know already, and yeah, so good evening, everyone.
Thank you. I think I got everybody. Marcia. There we go.
Good evening, Marcia Roscoe. I live in Hershey, Pennsylvania, the sweetest place on earth, and I get to work with Audrey and Robin as the Associate Dean of the Stevenson School for Ministry, and I'm very passionate about spiritual formation. So I'm glad to be here.
Great.
I think we hit everybody, Mary.
And I'm Elaine.
Oh, I'm sorry, Elaine.
That's all right. I am a retired Lutheran pastor, but I do some interim work and other stuff. And so my husband and I are both retired, and our two kids are one's in Philadelphia and one's in Ohio.
Great. Well, I can't thank you all enough for taking time and being here today. I have Pennsylvania roots. I grew up in Cherry Hill, all over New Jersey, but at the end of in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, primarily, and across from Philadelphia, on the other side of the river from Philadelphia. And then I have a sister in Pittsburgh now, but I went to the University of Dayton, so I used to drive through from that Philadelphia to Dayton, Ohio route, and all these names from off of the turnpike and things sound super familiar to me in lots of different ways. And so Lisa, you had asked a question about had I envisioned a time like this, and you know, no, none of us did. Oh my goodness, right? You know, we're just we're in a time unlike anything I've seen in my life. I'm 57 years old, and I would say that I have in the last couple of weeks, I know a lot of you have different experiences in working with people in lots of different ways. And in the last couple of weeks, since the intensity of what we're in the midst of has become more and more apparent, I have seen incredible experiences of kindness and courage and beauty, and also great concern and fear. And so it's just all of that, right? And our family, my husband is a priest too, but he's the director of pastoral care for a huge hospital. There are 30 chaplains that report to him. And so they're all preparing for what's coming. We're all preparing for what may be coming, right? Everybody in whatever our world is. And our son, who's 28, is a pharmacist at one of the ICUs in that hospital that is gearing up to be prepared for patients. And so we're experiencing it from like all of you, from a spiritual level, from a vocational level, from just all of that. And I think when you had said the other day, Lisa, something in our little Facebook message about, you know, how does the way of love translate in times such as these? And that's a great question, and one I'd actually like to, but I'm not going to do that because we'll never open up to all of you, because my guess is you have some insights beyond what I would have, even though, you know, I wrote that book. But one of the beautiful things about the way of love, when Bishop Curry and that group put it together, they made it so open source, and it honors that fact that everybody has something to offer to this conversation. So I don't see myself at all as the way of love expert. And I'll take a moment, if you'd like, and share with you how that book came to be, if it would be interesting at all. And but to answer the first question, I don't know about you, but even though we some of us, now I actually don't have more time than I did before. I'm finding it more challenging to do work in certain ways because we had a system down and there was a way we did things, and so much of that has been taken away. My rector, Rich Webster, said something that was helpful, and he goes, I feel like I feel like I have a limb missing almost, because what I've had before that was available to me in the way of connecting and supporting people, so much of it has been taken away, right? So we're all living in this new world. And so at the beginning, you know, for us, it was about a month and a half ago when we lived in a medical community. And so when the infectious disease stocks started telling us, we better get ready, this thing's real, no matter what you're hearing, this is real. You know, we did our best to try to get ready and to feel this. And as it's become more and more serious, for me personally, I found my rule of life was just knocked to the ground. I mean, so I didn't have to be, you know, I had to get cleaned up for the first Zoom meeting. I'm with you, Bishop. You know, this is my new way of life, I guess. But but it was amazing to me that in some ways I had more time by not driving in. My office is close, but often not driving places, doing everything from home. And yet I'll be up 3 hours and go, wow, I still haven't worked out, you know, like, so this week I'm coming back. But for me personally, that's been the case with the rule of life, is that it's not the idol. It's an anchor for me to help to remember what it is that helps for me to be good soil from which God can grow me. And so, you know, coming back to, all right, you know, have I done these things? Have I been returning to God? Am I studying scripture? Am I praying? You know, worship now is virtual a lot, and that's different, and it is still worship. And so there's all that. Go is different, where it's hard for me to not go into the community and do certain things that I feel a great desire to do, but it's important for me to not put other people in jeopardy by going out there in the world in a certain way. And so go has become calling people I haven't had much conversation with in other realms before, you know, that and to support people who I don't necessarily support on the front lines in certain ways, and to bless, you know, maybe more so than ever before, because we are in great need of this in lots of different ways, whether it's with financial blessing to support those who don't have a salary. I do have a salary. My husband has a salary. We have health insurance. We're not afraid about that in this moment anyway, and a lot of people are. And then the tricky one has been rest, because it just feels like, well, there's need everywhere. So how do I shut it down? How does he shut it down? But it's important to pay attention to all those things. And the beauty of the way of love for me is that when I get a little bit off, I don't know if you call it off course, but just kind of forgetting, it helps me remember. And so I'm grateful, you know, I'm grateful. I've had a rule of life before, but the rhythm of this one is just, to me, ingenious in the simplicity of it and the accessibility of it in our busy 21st century lives. To be able to access the 16th century wisdom is beautiful to me, and I'm grateful for that. And even as I've been knocked off course a little bit, thankfully, my prayer life has been steady. It's usually the rock, you know, and it has continued to be the rock. And then these other things I'm remembering again about taking care of myself in certain ways. But I have a request. I have that view with my face huge. It's weird for me. I miss seeing all the people. Is it possible to go back to the other view, or is this important to do it this way?
I have mine on gallery view. If you go up to the upper right-hand corner of your screen.
Yeah, I know how to do that. Now it's letting me, okay, I thought it said the admin had overridden me, but now I see, thank you. I'm back in gallery mode. It makes me less self-conscious. It was a big picture of me, which was really weird. So do you want me to share a little bit about how the book got started then? Would that be helpful?
That would be great. And those of you who are if you have a question, if you put it in the chat, then I can unmute you and ask a question then later.
And I'll look at the chat on the side. I can see it. So yeah, I'd love questions. That would be really helpful. I'm trying to remember what's in the forward and all of that about this, but basically, in May, almost 2 years ago now, I had taken my continuing education money and time from St. Luke's in Birmingham and went to a cabin and wrote. And my husband came, he's a nature photographer and does beautiful spiritual reflections with nature. And he did that, and I wrote all day, and it was really cathartic for me to be able to write vignettes about experiences I had had in the last couple years. And I've written a couple of other things, but this wasn't intended to be a book. It was spiritual renewal as much as anything. I was feeling a little dry, and I thought getting reconnected with my writing coach and trying to tap into some creativity might restore my soul, and it did. And then when I came back, that was March, I think it was, not May or March anyway, it doesn't matter. That summer, have you all seen the video of Bishop Curry, the Way of Love video? Have you seen his video? It's amazing. So you can Google Bishop Michael Curry, Way of Love video. It's awesome. So that summer I saw that video when they first introduced the Way of Love, and I thought, this is brilliant. As a contemplative, I'm a contemplative at heart and someone who is very, very passionate about spiritual formation. I was so proud of the Episcopal Church for embracing formation in that way. It was a missing link for all of us. And so I thought, this is what I'll do for my women's groups. I'll write reflections once a day on these 7 practices. And then I'll push it out to them. And then when we get together once a week, we'll talk about the reflections and the rule of life and how it's impacting their lives. So that's what I did. And I used some of the work that I already had created at the cabin. And then I wrote some right here at my home. And then in October, it was late October, friends. It was the last weekend in October, a year and a half ago or almost. I sent an email to church publishing. I didn't have a connection there. I could have through some people I knew, but I thought it was such a long shot. A couple people had said, you might want to let them know you're doing this thing. And so I sent an email to church publishing and said, it was like info@church publishing. And I just said, I'm writing these things. They're about the way of love. I know we're too late for Lent, but if you ever want to look at them, I'd love to show them to you. And that was it. It was a Saturday. Monday morning. Do any of you know Sharon Pearson at Church Publishing? Okay. She's phenomenal. So I didn't know Sharon. I didn't know who Sharon was. And I get an email back from her Monday morning. I've just left a Way of Love work group meeting, and we have been praying for someone to write a devotional. How in the world those things happen, I don't know. If I were a believer. So it was very affirming and scary all at once. And so she looked at a little bit of the material and took a big, huge leap of faith. And so did the others there. And there was a contract by Thursday. That was Monday to Thursday. We were all ready to go. And then she said, we need you to be done by December 10th. And that was a little pressure. And so we just got at it. And they were amazing. She was phenomenal in her support, but I know all the system behind her had to crank it. And so it was published in the middle of January, those couple months after that. And it just has been a ball. I mean, it just was like one of those wonderful things where it was the right thing at the right time with what was happening with the season of Lent, with the yearning for Way of Love material, and with great support around me to make that happen. And I'm grateful because it was a fun project, and it continues to be fun like this. This is so fun. Thank you. So it felt amazing to be a part of that.
Thank you. I see Audrey has a question for you. As a contemplative, are some of the practices more natural for you than others?
That's a great question. And Audrey, do you mean the practices within the way of love? Yeah, okay. So yes, like, you know, turn and learn and pray and worship, you know, bless, absolutely. Bye, honey. To some degree, Sabbath, like when I do it, I really love Sabbath, you know, and we're trying to reclaim that in certain ways. So, but go, even though I'm an extrovert, is not always like, I feel like I break boundaries in certain ways, but I think sometimes I struggle a little bit with that one, even though I've lived all over I've lived different parts of the world and all that. If I look at my practice, I think that's the place where I could benefit from more emphasis in that direction. And I've felt that way for a while. Like I see it circle back around. So in some ways, I think that's the one that can be most challenging to me. Absolutely. Any other questions?
Do you see, Audrey said it was very Episcopalian of you to say that.
I know. And I can't believe it because I think I do it. But when I've been honest with myself and reflected on my practices, not as much as I think. But I've also have to say that in a way, some of my life is go because I was raised in the Northeast and then I lived in Ohio and I lived there for a while after college. And then I lived in California and then I lived in Tokyo and then I came back to California and then North Carolina. And moving to the deep South has been more challenging than Tokyo was. And, but now I've been here a while. I mean, I've been here 15 years in Alabama and I love it. And I love the people and I'm happy and I'm grateful. But often culturally, what I'm in the middle of, my Southern husband has to translate for me. And, you know, still, I can really step in it sometimes. But I think that's funny that you say that's very Episcopalian. Is go a challenge for anybody else here?
I'm not in, I'm kind of a relatively new Episcopalian coming from a different tradition. And I've lived in Northeast Georgia for 10 years. My children were born there. So similar. It's actually probably less challenging for me. There are other things that are a little challenging.
Mm-hmm. So I am hearing from some of your backgrounds that there are folks here who are very committed to formation in lots of different ways through EFM, through spiritual direction, through ministry and all of that. And I applaud you because I don't know if this is your experience too, but I had felt a little while like sometimes we don't really give people good tools and ideas and community around developing a spiritual formation in a way that intersects with daily life, that it's not some different woo-woo thing. It's what we do every day. Like I loved what I believe it was admin said. I'm sorry your name's not on there. I think that your work is your prayer. And I think that's lovely, you know, and more of an awareness of our way of being and what helps and supports and shapes our way of being. I apologize if I was making a bunch of noise. I see I was unmuted. That's from Sarah. I don't think you were, but thanks for saying that. So what questions, I have questions for you all if you want me to, but okay. Would you please, this is from Valerie. Would you please tell us about your other books? I totally enjoyed this one. Oh, thank you, Valerie. So the first book I wrote is called Dancing Naked Under the Moon, Uncovering the Wisdom Within. And it is a spiritual autobiography that I wrote in 2000 and I wrote it over 2007, 2008. And Bishop, I don't know if you can appreciate this, but I went through the discernment process after I wrote that book, and Bishop Sloan, who I adore, who is our bishop, when he preached at my ordination, he said, she didn't make it easy on us. She'd written a book called Dancing Naked Under the Moon. She told us about her Buddhist life. You know, he was hysterical about it. But that book is about being nakedly honest with God and with ourselves and with one another, and then dancing and living with the joy that can come from that. So even though I say that, I tell you, I do not always live nakedly honest with myself or with God or with others. It's an aspiration. It's not something I've been able to do. And that book came as the result of experiencing the death of my best friend at 38 years old, and then the end of a 16-year marriage, and then starting an end-of-life care nonprofit in her honor, surprisingly falling madly in love with my current husband, and then moving to Alabama, all within like this short period of time. And so I was just writing as a way to process it all. I took a little sabbatical and I just sat. We were living on a lake, and I was just processing life with writing. And I'm not a trained writer. I don't know how to write. This person who I've mentioned, who's a friend, who's also a writing coach, has helped me a lot. I need people around me. That's just, I have ideas and I try, but I'm not in that. Like now I write a lot, but it wasn't something I had been trained to do at all. And that one I self-published, and we're out of the books, but it's on Kindle. You know, because it only took 10 years to sell 1,000, you know. And then the second one I self-published also, and it is called Living Awake, and it's a 40-day devotional that I wrote. It was a challenge to myself, again, born out of hardship. My children, it's not a hardship, but I was my children were leaving for college. They both graduated in the same year, and my whole life was kind of shifting, and I processed through writing, and I committed to write for 40 days, and we made it a book. And it's got spiritual practices in it too. Like, it's just a little devotional with some reflections and a practice you can do every day. I see there's other. Do you have a practice of doing an examen of? Yes, yes, yes. So, so about the practice of examen, it's more organic, Audrey. It's more organic, but it like I wanted to be able to offer for people something they could at least start with. But the way, if I'm understanding your question correctly, and feel free to ask or correct me if I'm off track, but so generally the way I do does everybody know what I mean when I say the examen? Should I say a minute about that, or are we good? So in Ignatian spirituality, they have a practice that is called the examen. And for me, I see it as a time when I reflect on the day. I usually do it at night during Compline. So I rarely do it during morning prayer. And so for me personally, I reflect on the day, and I do it during Compline. And when we do the confession in Compline, I just stop for a moment and I review my day, and I think about, where did I feel most connected and closest to God? And almost all the time it was looking in someone's eyes, but not always, frequently. And or just in a moment of quiet beauty in nature, or writing or reading something profound. And then, you know, where did I feel like I missed the mark? And just thinking about that, not from like this shame-filled way, but just, okay. And it, you know, and then looking to the day ahead. And so it fits well for me in the confession, because then I just say the confession and know God loves me and forgives me for those places where I missed. And even when it is, you know, we all have our top 10 hits, don't we? 10. Maybe that's not fair for me to say for you. I have my top 10 hits. And so then I get back there again and I'm like, oh my goodness, there she is again. And, but I'm hopeful that my taking that in prayer to God on a regular basis, that somehow God is shaping me, that I'm moving along the path in a way that I don't even always notice or realize. And then I look ahead to the day ahead and I pray about what my hopes are for the day ahead, So does that answer your question? Okay, thank you. If I mailed you my book, would you be kind enough? Of course, would I autograph it? Yes, I'd be honored to autograph it. Thank you for even asking. She doesn't have my address, but I can give it to you all if that's something that you want. I'm happy, honored that anyone would even want me to do that, for sure. I'd be glad to do that.
I'm curious, Mary Bea. So that is a very Southern thing, actually, to have two names. You know that, right?
But it came from my Catholic upbringing that there were so many cousins with the first name Mary. So it's actually a Catholic Northerner thing. But it is a Southern thing.
It is a Southern
thing. It helps me down here.
I bet.
It does.
What is the one thing you mentioned? Prayer is kind of your rock. That's the piece that you hang on to. Mm-hmm. You actually figured out one of my other questions, which was my whole rule of life that I normally have in the last 3 weeks got sort of blown to pieces as well. Mm-hmm. And trying to discover a new one. Mm-hmm. What parts of this for you, if you were talking to someone saying, I don't even know how to do this, I'm overwhelmed with life, let alone coming up with a rule of life, what would you encourage them to do?
Oh, wow. What a great question. I think start where you are. So, and that might, I have some training in spiritual direction, but our spiritual directors might have a different answer. But I think if someone said that, I would probably, if they would have the time, take some time to ask them about what they're doing now. And the truth is, most of us have a rule of life. It's just maybe not identified, or I drink coffee every morning. That's part of my rule of life. My husband and I really try hard to take time at the end of the day and debrief together. That's part of my rule of life, right? Like some people go to worship pretty regularly. They've already started a rule of life. So I think I would try to make it less of some big project new thing, as much as lifting up what's already happening and claiming it as this is what sustains me. And if there's a yearning in one place or another, then to maybe look at adopting one thing, not 7 things all at once. And just start where you are and be gentle with yourself. God is in so many things. God's in the garden. God's so making it accessible, I think, would be important. That's my perspective. Somebody else might have another thought. Yes.
I think that Linda's PC, do you remember all this? How do you remember all your stories?
Well, that's well, first of all, when I got to the cabin and started writing those initial stories, I journal. And so I say that, but I haven't journaled for a long time. But at that time I was journaling. So I'm an intermittent journaler. But at that time I had been journaling, and I actually, on my iPhone, old cracked iPhone, I would start a note and just go, and write a couple words and then put it down. And so writing takes time. And so then when I had the time, I would go back and flesh it out. And if other people were in the story, then I would check in with them. What do you remember? This is what I'm remembering. And some of the stories that I shared in there, like the one, well, I don't know where you are. So there's one at the end about a homeless boy and his generosity. And maybe you've not read that yet, but it's coming towards the end of the book. And that was a story that happened while I was in the midst of writing the book. So some of it is what gets written is what's happening right now. You know, if it doesn't get written, it's gone. There's just so many stories in our lives, aren't there? And so sometimes I crack up because people will say, when you wrote whatever, I'll go, oh, wow, I wrote that? Okay, yeah. It's not really memory. It's just kind of journaling and going back and revisiting with people. But thank you for asking that. And I will say this, I was just really grateful. Grace was abounding in this book. I'm under contract to do another book for church publishing right now. And it's just been a wild time and I haven't been able, and I've had to tell people, I'm not that church publishing is putting pressure, but I'm not a machine. How that thing happened was beyond me. It wasn't me. It was like working through me. Writing usually takes a lot of time, and I had 2 full weeks away to really work hard on that book, and then everything else was in the cracks of my day. And both weeks, the writing just flowed and flowed and flowed and flowed and flowed. And I'm incredibly grateful. And I am here to tell you, it doesn't always work that way. So right now it's a little dry, but I'm changing calls. I'm going to be the interim rector. Glenda Curry, who's going to be our new rector, our new bishop, I'm going to be the interim rector at her parish. And so I'll have a little bit of time between leaving St. Luke's and going to All Saints. And I'm not going to be traveling, it doesn't look like. So I'm hoping that some of the writing will come with that. And the next book is about the table and what we learn around the table and the stories that we tell around the table, and that tables are our story keepers. And now it's got this whole big chapter that's coming about when we can't get around the table. And aren't we in the midst of that right now? Yearning, this incredible yearning we have with one another, for one another, yearning for the Eucharist, for those who are sacramental in our theology, yearning for so many things right now that we took for granted, and coming together in certain ways. And so I think it's good that the writing didn't come before, because I think it would have been off point before now. I think we will look at, I just think the consciousness of the world is forever changed in what we're in the midst of right now. And so it might have been a little tone deaf 2 months ago.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for that anybody has? I'm looking, I don't think I see any, but I feel like it's a wedding. If not, forever hold your peace.
I have questions, may I?
Okay, please.
Okay, so I'm interested to know, and about that rule of life question too, at the end of the book are a couple of days and some resources about writing a rule of life. And I did feel as if some of it was a lot to put on people, but you're trying to give them something that they could use. But if you're in the midst of that and it's more than you want to do, don't worry about it. Just do what's right for you in that. So it's a guide, it's not a test. It's just a guide. And inherent in all of this is our appreciation that the Spirit is the one guiding us. And so being in touch in that way, you will know, I'm sure of that. Okay, so the question I wanted to ask you all was, are you doing this in groups, or is this the group, like, are you coming together on a regular basis? Some of you, how are you sharing this, or is it mostly private reflection? Anybody who wants to share your experience of that?
Well, the group sort of started by a crazy idea I had. saying like I wanted to do something with a group of people. And so I thought if maybe 2 or 3 people would do this with me, that would be great. And then friends, some of whom are on here, said, oh, this is a great idea. We're going to tell lots of other people. And so a lot of it is the group, the Facebook group. I don't even know probably 2/3 of the people in that group, but they are friends of a friend of a friend. And so part of it is we're just reading it and responding together that way. I don't know about the rest of you.
And I would like to say, Lisa, I try to jump on, but I don't get on there as much as I'd like on that, because I'm so grateful that you created the group, and you do a wonderful job. I know it takes time every day to post a reflection and get some questions going and all of that. Kudos to you. I'm grateful. You've done a really nice job with that. So that's really neat. Anybody else have anything to say about doing it in a group or on your own, or what it's been like for you to walk with this book, either on your own or with a group?
Zoom meetings are never this quiet. Oh, there we go, Mary. I'll unmute you.
Just to say, I'm new to this group and I'm new to your book. So I just sort of jumped on to listen, and the more I'm listening, the more intrigued I'm getting. So I think this is wonderful. I think this is, I think we need more opportunities to work, to share our own experiences in groups, because that's where we learn the language, that's where we hone our own beliefs. And I think we need to do more of it. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for saying that, Mary. At the core of the work, some of the work that I love to do, so spiritual formation, I'm technically the pastoral care associate at a very large parish. We have about 3,000 members. And then the new parish where I'm going, I've already told you what that role is. But in the pastoral care world, what I've tried to do is emphasize and show that spiritual formation is a part of pastoral care, because if we're working on our spiritual lives, if we're working on that, then when the crisis comes for us or for someone we love, we have the bandwidth, the tools. It's not like it's like, oh, automatic, like you're fixing a house, but I think you get what I'm saying, that the more we invest in that part of our life, than when the inevitable, like what we're in the midst of now, or a loved one dies, or you lose a job, or a divorce, or something, you're already at a place where you have a spiritual maturity with which to address it. It doesn't mean the pain doesn't hurt. It doesn't mean the tears aren't going to come. There's just a certain possibility of a depth individually, but also develop what, so my probably one of the core works that I do, and at some point I'd like to spend more time with it and develop it, but is mostly women's circles, but also I do some groups with men and women, and using some of Living Compass's work, which has been great, and some other things. But I've been doing women's circles before I went to seminary. So for like, I don't know, almost 15 years. And I think that one of the things I have found is then the connections, as you all know, that are made in these small groups. If you look at it from a parish perspective, there's already a natural support system if something happens. It reduces the clergy-centric experience of pastoral care, and it reminds us that we all carry the light of Christ and that compassion and that ability to support and love. It doesn't have to be somebody with a collar. Sometimes that's the last person you want there, but that these connections are critical, and it can only happen in investing time. I mean, well, not only, sometimes there are immediate connections, of course, but oftentimes by spending time with a community, being vulnerable, feeling like what you have to offer is honored and that people will listen and will not judge and really speak from the heart, then from there, the wisdom of the group is inherent in the experience together. And so I think that's lovely that you're making this happen, because it can happen virtually. I mean, all my groups now, we're all virtual. I really like it better the other way, but this can happen and it's good. It's a good thing. So I'm looking at a couple questions. I also read and discuss the devotions with my husband. That's from Valerie. Thank you, Valerie. You know, I have heard that from a number of people, and it's so cool to me that, you know, family members, you know, together share it and reflect together. So I'm glad you're doing that. Thank you. That's neat.
Yeah. And Mary, thank you. Both of us really enjoy your book and your devotions. We happen to be retired, so we have the luxury that we didn't used to have, where we're able to do our devotions together in the morning. And there are two Lenten devotionals that we do. We do yours, and then we also do Henry Nouwen's devotional, the one called Show Me the Way.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Oh, that's very powerful. So both of yours are just incredible and give us great meat and ideas and content for conversation every morning. So I really do appreciate it. When I also appreciate and admire Lisa so much for starting this Lenten devotional group. It's something that certainly would be way out of my comfort zone, and she has done an amazing job with it. I unfortunately had conflicts on Thursday evening, so I wasn't able to listen to it and participate as I had hoped I would have been able to. But just really appreciate her pulling everybody together. And then when I heard that I saw her post that you were going to be our guest tonight, it's like, oh my, this is like too cool, because my husband and I have both thoroughly enjoyed your book. So I many thanks to both of you.
Thanks, Valerie. Valerie's a retired nurse, by the way. So she's a dear friend.
Yes, thank you very much. And I too emphasize my appreciation to Lisa for her great work in making this happen. I see there's another question. As these times are showing, we need online presence, and this group is helping me learn more about being online. How cool is that? That's from Linda. So, hey, and Living Compasses thing is on Courage this time. So that's what I'm doing with groups right now, because we did this book last year, and it takes courage to find new ways to connect like this. So good for you, Linda, for doing it. And it gets better and better. I spent probably 6 hours this week of pastoral care teaching people how to do Zoom, and I'm not necessarily the best one to be doing that, but you just got to do what you got to do, right? Did anybody else have something that you want to share or ask or anything else? I want to thank you. It is very gratifying to me. And I'm glad I don't see everybody's faces, but I'm glad I get to see your faces. And I'm honored for the opportunity to be with you. And you're encouraging me, so thank you. I think this project that I need to get back to, you all are going to help me get there. So thank you. I needed you, and I'm grateful for your willingness to encourage me in this way. And I hold you all in deep prayer at this time that is uncertain. All times are uncertain, but especially now we're feeling a certain sense of the changing world. And I pray God's peace and blessing on you and your families and the whole world. And I pray that this be something that helps us to maybe be called back home from some exiles in a new way, to remember who we are in a new way, individually and as a gathered community within not only our faith communities, but the community of humanity. And I have hope, I have great hope that, like in Psalm 23, where we pray for, that God is walking with us through the valley of the shadow of death. It is not a place where we stay, and we won't always be in this moment. And I thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary. I'd love to pray for us all before we all say goodnight, if that's okay.
Of course.
God, our rock, hold us in this chaos. Christ, calm us in this storm. Holy Spirit, intercede for us. Be merciful, most merciful God. O God, our rock, hold us in the chaos of this hard hour. Christ, our King, calm us in the storm of our distress. Holy Spirit, intervene and intercede. We need you now, most merciful God. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. If you want, that was beautiful. I can type in my address in the comment. Would you like me to do that?
We can do that. That would be fine. And I think everybody on here also, you can send me a message on Facebook, and I can also give it to you that way. Thank you all for joining me. I know that we all Zoom a lot all day. This is where I live now. I think my computer is going to start rebelling against it, but.
Thank you for doing this, Lisa, and thank you so much, Mary Bea, for being with us.
Yeah, thanks.
You are very welcome. Thank you. It was really, really lovely to be with you. Have a great evening.
Thank you so much.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.